Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited that you've come out. It's so nice to see you in person, so thank you so much for that. So we're here tonight with our awesome counseling team here at Kinnelon High School, and they're ready to walk you through the process this evening of what it means to apply to college, right? It's hard to believe that that's where you are in your children's lives. I'm sure it has been the snap of your fingers since they were much younger. But here we are, and we're here to help you and walk you through the process, and we're excited to do so. So our program tonight is the mechanics of the college application process. And at this point, I will hand it over to our team. And then again, this is a nice size group. So if you have questions at the end, we'll take them, and we're here to help and support through the process. So thanks again for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you, Mrs. O. Tonight we're going to go over the mechanics of the college application process. So as your resources, we're always an email away, so you could always reach out to us at any point during it. Your students pop in whenever they want to with some questions as well, so open door policy for us. I am Mrs. Strunz. I am taking care of the seniors that are kind of like the middle of the alphabet. Over there, we have Mrs. Biggins. She's the beginning of the alphabet. And then Miss Goodrow, who's towards the end of the alphabet. And then we have our student assistant counselor, Mrs. Wysocki. She's welcoming everyone in the front door, so I'm sure you saw her on your way in. Again, any point during this process, please feel free to email us. Oh, and how can I forget our administrative assistant, Mrs. Acanfrio. If you can't get a hold of us right away, you can get in touch with her, and she'll be able to help you along the way as well. So here's a holistic review about the admissions decisions. It's not any one thing. There's a whole bunch of things that come into play here. So transcript, which is something we send over, the strength of the curriculum, test scores, if applicable. We are seeing a trend where most colleges are going back to being not test optional. So just be aware when your student is applying what the process is for that school. An essay, a writing sample. Some colleges will request some supplemental. So aside from the personal essay that they have to write in the Common App, which is about 650 word max, there are going to be some supplementals depending on the college, and those are usually directed towards that specific college, and that's about 250 words. The application, which is the Common App, I think most of my seniors have started it already. If you haven't, take a breath. It's okay. You're not late at all. Also, activities and experiences and demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest means, have you reached out to the school? Were they at the fair? Did they go over? Did you go over? Introduce yourself, your name. Did you email admissions and ask to be on their mailing list? Open houses and as well as college tours. They do kind of keep tabs. Here's a quick overview of the resources. Everything I've mentioned so far and what's on this slide, we are gonna go into it in much more detail. So the four main resources you're gonna be using during this process. The first one is the Common App. Think of that as the common information that all colleges are going to see. That is something that is private. You make that account, we do not. I could only help your senior if they come with their laptop and show me their login information. Naviance, now that is something that is school-based. It is what we use to send all of the information to the colleges, such as transcripts, counselor letters, as well as our school report and teacher letters of recommendation. If you forget your password, if your student forgets your password, we can help them out with that because it is school-based. College Board, again, that is also private. That is how you send out all the scores for your SATs to the colleges of your choice. And lastly, there is STARS, formerly known as SRAR. STARS is the Self-Reported Transcript and Academic Record System. That is where you need to self-report pretty much every grade on your student's transcript. And that is something that not all schools need, but it will specify on the Common App if that is something that is required for their school. All right, an overview of the student responsibilities. They need to request their letters of recommendation. They did that early in the spring. That's where we had our, or even in the winter when we had our junior meetings, we explained to them, ask very early. Certain teachers like to get it done over the summer. Some have a max of how many students that they will write for. That is something that is also sent via an upload in Naviance. All of our teachers have their own login. We will go over in a little bit too, how to request in Naviance as well. So last spring, they should have verbally asked, they should have filled out some paperwork asking the teacher to write their letter of recommendation. We recommend 2. A lot of colleges don't take more than 2. You might have a supplemental. Maybe that's someone outside of school, a piano teacher, maybe that's someone through the rec department. They could email the counselor directly and we could upload that on their behalf. And that is something that is only sent if the college wants more than 2 letters of recommendation. Another important thing, we visited all the English classes, so all students know they need to link their Common App and Naviance together. So that way, whatever colleges you are applying to in the Common App, they do show up on Naviance. Sending SAT, ACT, AP scores, if not a test optional. That is something that is done again through College Board. That's something you do as well. We do recommend that you do that at least 1 to 2 weeks before the deadline of the application, just to give it some processing time as well. Sending in your application, so that includes your essays, the personal statements, any supplemental writing prompts, supplemental materials. Some, if you're going for a graphic design or any kind of art school, they might require a portfolio or a resume of sorts. And as I mentioned earlier, some schools might want you to complete that STARS report as well. You're going to return, or your seniors are going to return, all required guidance release paperwork. During these meetings we had with them, during English, I believe we gave some extras out tonight. There is a college checklist, a fall college checklist, which we will be emailing you this because there's lots of helpful links in there as well. They also need to sign, and you need to sign the transcript release form. Please review the transcripts. We did find one discrepancy where a class was not listed as a dual enrollment, so please go over everything. You know, we're still fairly new with real time, so we want to make sure everything is accurate. And then an early decision agreement if applicable. If your student does have a early decision, something needs to be signed, not just by you, but by the student as well as the school counselor. And if you have any questions about that, just reach out to us individually. So teacher letter request process, I kind of touched on that a bit. They should have been asked in the spring or the summer. And online requests are through Naviance. There is a tutorial over here as well, so you'll be able to view that. Allow the teachers at least 10 days to complete the request once you upload that request through Naviance. So you're gonna log into Naviance, navigate to colleges, apply to colleges, and then letters of recommendation. There's a blue button in the upper right-hand corner that says add request. And then you're going to select the teacher from the drop-down and choose general request rather than an individual college. And then you submit it. Naviance then talks to that teacher. They will get an alert that their letter of recommendation is ready to be uploaded. And like I mentioned, there is a tutorial for you. This presentation will also be emailed to you, so you'll have access to all the slides and the hyperlinks as well. Matching the accounts, you must match Common App and Naviance. Students create their own Common App. Everyone has their Naviance right now. If you do not know your Naviance login, you could contact us. Easy for us to give it to you. So in Naviance, you're going to click on colleges I'm applying to. You can't miss it. There's a big pink button in the upper right, and you click match, and it's kind of like magic. They just talk to each other, and the systems just know what to do from there. And again, we've also included a video for you as well in this presentation. All right, I'm going to turn it over to one of my other co-counselors, Ms. Niggins. so it doesn't fall.
Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. I'm going to go over a little more detail with what Ms. Strunz touched upon. So we're going kind of in order of the overview, going into more details for each slide. So one of the things we're talking about today is finalizing your list on Naviance. So again, Naviance and Common App are two totally different websites. It is imperative, like she said in the last slide, to match them, otherwise they won't communicate. So last year, if you came to this presentation, which I know all of you did, Naviance was really our search tool. That's how we were looking at information in terms of finding the right fit, what colleges were appropriate. Now Naviance becomes what I like to consider like the Google Drive of documents. So it's imperative that our school-based program links with Common App, which is a private website. So once they're linked, which we showed you the nice pink red button on the last slide, most of the colleges that you input on Common App will transfer over to Naviance instantly. So they don't have to enter in each single school. If you have it on Common App, it will communicate over to Naviance. If for some reason a school's not populating, you let us know. If there's a school that is not on the Common App, which is very few and far between, you would need to let us know. One of the other things that's important to kind of mention is some students find that they max out on the Common App. The Common App only allows 20 schools. I know, who's applying to 20 schools? It's happening. Some of you probably already know some people or your own students applying to 20 schools. So we as the counselors need to know in which the method you are applying. So if you are using Common App and you put it in Common App and link it to Naviance, perfect. But if it's a school that's using Coalition or using direct to institution, it needs to be noted on here. Otherwise, the documents won't go to the right server or mailbox. Other things that we'd like you to indicate when you have your application, what kind of type it is. Is it an early action? Is it an early decision? Is it regular? Rolling, just because we like to keep that data for future students. There's sometimes a big discrepancy between students that were accepted in the early action or the regular pool, and that's important for us to follow. Again, very important, without this information, we can't send your documents. They don't go anywhere. So keeping the list on Naviance is critical. In the past, we didn't force students to use Naviance in terms of their search tool, but now you have to use it. Sorry, there's no option. All right, so standardized test scores. This is a really hot topic amongst the college landscape. Do I send test scores? Do I need test scores? We have seen kind of, the ever-changing, evolving college landscape, I like to call. Right now, we're in a time where standardized test scores were not required. Almost everybody didn't want them. And now we're seeing everyone kind of creep back towards wanting them. So we advise students, your students as juniors last year, to take the SAT. Don't omit it because you just don't know. And we're seeing some schools roll around saying, yeah, we wanted them. So that's why it's good to always have them in your back pocket. What's nice, but also complicated, is that students then have to decipher which schools require scores, which of my scores are in the 50% range that's accepted. So if you're going to accept send your test scores, colleges will accept either test, SAT or ACT. There is no preference in the college admissions process. Most colleges will super score. That means take the best sittings of test on the reading and writing section and the math section. Some are very much still test optional, and colleges advise not to send the scores again if they're not in that mid 50%. But that's not a cutoff. Let's say you're at a 700, they wanted a 700, you're at a 680. That doesn't mean necessarily you should not, not send them at all. You're gonna have to weigh the option. If you're close enough, is it worth sending? Because if you don't send them at all, they really don't know where you were. So I'd advise students to reach out to colleges appropriately. I actually had one student walk around and ask at the college fair what that particular school advised, which I know seems silly because it's like, hey, will you let me in if I have this score? But they want to be honest and they're going to be transparent with you, and it might be program dependent. It might be dependent on whether you're applying for a business program, a math program. Maybe they're not as flexible about the math score if you're going to be a physicist. So it's important you can have that conversation with admissions. If you're nervous, we will have that conversation with admissions, with the student present, because I think it's important that they take ownership of it. So if an SAT or ACT is going to be submitted, the student must send it from College Board or the ACT organization directly to the institution. So I went into the senior classes, we all did, and I think that they laughed because I said, we don't send SAT scores. We don't send SAT scores. I can't tell you how many kids come back to our office and go, how come they didn't get my SAT score? We are not allowed. It's not because I feel like, hey, I don't want to send them. They're not deemed official unless they're coming from the official organization directly to the college that you're applying to. And it also takes the piece out of it for us to potentially make any sort of mishap for a school that you didn't want them to go to. So it's important that the student takes ownership of submitting the SAT or ACT and going on the College Board website and, unfortunately, paying the fee to send it to those schools. I hate to say it, it does count per school, maybe like I think it's up to $16 a school, something like that. So, I apologize that I can't, kind of get around that, but it's important that you're using the official websites to get there. There has been some mishaps. There are some schools that are on Common App that allow you to self-disclose the scores on Common App. Just because you list them on Common App does not deem them acceptable and official. You could say, yeah, I got a perfect score, but until they see that record, they're not really sure. So they need the official score report. If you're not sure which schools are still accepting test optional or which programs are still test optional, I advise you to look at fairtest.org or go directly to the college and institution's website on their testing policy. And I talk fast, I apologize. All right, next, sending applications. So we talked about this. Most students are going to use the Common App. A long time ago, I tell this story, you had to fill out an application on every single website, the same information over and over and over again. And now they have one universal application where you fill out the information one time and you can send it to multiple schools. It's beautiful. There was a handful of schools that still were sticklers, like Rutgers and Georgetown, that weren't on there. They're coming around. Rutgers is now on there. And I think Georgetown is next year. I'm still mad at them about it, but it's helpful for our students. Again, you must link it to Naviance. You can submit, or I should say, not you guys, the students that are here, you guys can send your application whenever you are ready. You do not need to wait for guidance to give you the A-OK. If you want us to look over your application, we're happy to do so by appointment. But you do not need to wait for us to submit your letters of recommendation or your transcripts. You submit when you're ready, because God forbid, we are in a delay of some kind, which has never happened, in sending your transcript. They will allow the school a 2-week window to send supplemental documents, but they will not allow a student to miss a deadline. They expect the student's application, the pieces that are on them, to be there on time. They allow the school a 2-week window. We don't do that. We're actually extremely efficient, and we get things out prior to, if not the day of, okay? Most schools, use the Common App, as we said, but many schools are using what's called the STARS platform. It used to be called the SRAR platform. One of the biggest schools that uses it is Rutgers. It was SRAR. They pretty much created it, and it is now grown. The reason they created this platform is actually because they were finding that it was taking too long to get documentation, plus they wanted to manipulate the data to how they see fit. So they expect, it's very cumbersome, that they expect students in the STARS platform to type in each line of their transcript. The class, the level, the grade, the credit. It's tedious. It's easy, but just time consuming. Students are not considered officially applied if they're missing this piece, and they have to link it. So please make sure that if there's a school you're applying to, that if they are using the STARS program, that you're doing it. most of the time we're going to see your big public institutions using those STARS platforms. And if you can't find STARS, because we have trouble finding it today, type in SRAR, because that's what they used to call it, and then they tried to get fancy this year with STARS. And obviously, any questions, it's an ever-changing cycle. You can always call us or email us. The essay. The essay is probably the trickiest part on the Common App. It's, a 600 to 650 word essay where students can write about whatever they want, which sounds great, except it's actually almost too open-ended sometimes. They give you several prompts you can pick from. One of the last ones is write about anything that's, that you feel is important to you. Most of the students have worked on their essays in the summer, or they're working with their English teachers. We are happy to review them, but I am by no means, as you can tell by my speaking, perfect at an English writing essay, but I'm happy to review it for content, because that's what we usually look at, is what is this reflecting about you? What are you saying about yourself? And colleges have come out and said, it doesn't need to be that you're solving, world hunger. It can be about the day-to-day norms. Some students write about their cars, they write about their jobs, they write about their keys. It's just sometimes beautiful parallels they make to their lives, and it's a beautiful reflection upon who they are as a person. Just be sure, back to basics, no typos, no incorrect spelling, grammar. You want punctuation and capitalization to be all correct. And I advise you to work. Our English teachers are amazing at this. I mean, we have a really nice lineup of English teachers that just really know how to craft an essay and turn it around beautifully, or just give them the A-OK so they feel confident in submitting it. All right, so links to important documents. Some of these are outside. One of them is the checklist. We try to make this like our fail-safe, where you can't miss it. If you follow this, you can't miss anything. There are some hyperlinks. We're going to email that out. Letters of recommendations. We as the counselors are responsible for writing a letter of recommendation for every student, which we're happy to do, because we know them and we've been with them for quite some time. But to help us write the best letter of recommendation possible, we typically ask for the student info and activity sheet and a parent input form. This was due back in June. If you didn't submit it, we'll still take it, but we'd like it in as soon as possible. The last thing, and to be honest, the most important piece, is this yellow sheet. This is the transcript, release, and application list. It's extremely important to us because this puts us in the queue for us to get your documents together and sent to the schools that you've designated. If you haven't done so already, you should check with your student, because every one of them got handed this sheet. They should write the list of the schools that they are applying to, even if they're all not right now, but just so that we know where you're expecting the documents to go. We also attached a transcript to this. The reason we attach a transcript is we want you to review your transcript for any errors. I don't think there are any, but we did move from on-course to real-time, and last year's class found that they wanted to review them and make sure everything was A-OK before we sent it. So at the bottom, there is a consent for the parent and the student that they've reviewed the transcript and that they're okay with us giving us permission to send these documents to the colleges they've listed above. We would love this prior to 2 weeks before the first deadline. Obviously 2 weeks is the appropriate timeline. Most students we're finding have deadlines November 1st. Some have October 15th. A couple have September 15th. That was a new big one. So I would advise you, if you haven't, look through the sheet and make sure that you're also reviewing with your student their list of schools and their deadlines, so you make sure that this sheet is in before, 2 weeks before, so they can get on the list of applicants.
Do you have to submit it through Naviance as well? I know there's a request line.
You know what, we're not using the online Naviance request system. So as long as we get this is the green light for us to go ahead and get their stuff together. Basically because it's consenting, but also because it gives us all the information necessary. And now I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Goudreau. Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, thank you very much. She had the hard, they had the harder slides. It's like, no, you guys get to. So some of what I'll be talking about is some review, talking about our school counseling department responsibilities when it comes to the application process. As Mrs. Biggins and Mrs. Struns have explained very well, the student is responsible for submitting the application and for sending the test scores. We take care of everything else. We take care of the transcript, which of course at this point it's an initial transcript. There is also a mid-year transcript that we can send if your student prefers, if the college needs it, and if your student wants that to be sent. And then of course the final transcript at the end of the year, once they've graduated, has the graduation date on it. The attending college, whichever college your student is planning to go to, they need that final transcript in order to allow them to fully matriculate to that school. There is no need to request the counselor letter of recommendation. We are already planning to write all those. Some we've already done, and we'll continue to do those. The teacher letters of recommendation, we send those as well. We send everything in like an electronic bundle, if you will. We send everything from the transcript, the teacher letters, counselor letter, other school information. There's this other report things that we need to fill out that you don't need to know about. So yes.
What if the teacher's no longer in the school? Will they still be in the drop down?
Very good question. If the teacher is no longer at this school, they will probably not be in the drop-down menu. Sometimes there might be one lingering, but if there is a teacher that, you know, your student is still in touch with and they want that person to write the letter, the teacher can email the letter to the counselor and then we can upload it on their behalf.
Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. Mm-hmm.
Okay, quick question for you. Since things are being transmitted online different ways, how do you ensure that the college receives everything? Would they get in touch with the student if someone said we're missing your SAT score, for example, or you didn't get a letter of recommendation?
Yes, the question is, with all of these things being transmitted electronically, how do you know if something is missing or if something didn't go through? Well, there were a couple of stopgaps in the system that work well. First of all, on our end, we get a submission status, a date and a timestamp in Naviance to show that the materials were submitted. Now, sometimes, especially when things get really busy, colleges are, every college is on their own schedule as far as when they're uploading to their imaging systems. So sometimes I spoke with a college once that said, oh, we only do that on Tuesdays. Okay, so every college is on their own timeline. However, the colleges will also, once the student has submitted the application, will then send them credentials on how to create their own student portal for that particular institution. And it's usually on that portal where it lists, there's a checklist of, you know, received, still missing. And that's when students can certainly, you know, come talk to us and we can sort of figure out if it goes on for too long, we definitely call the college and try to make sure that nothing was lost in translation. But a lot of times, I think it's just the instant gratification. They click it. Why do they have it yet? It's like, well, no, they have to upload it first. So we usually recommend have at least probably, a week, maybe 2 weeks from when we submit our documents, because we won't know exactly when they're uploading them on their end. But we do have those 2 ways that we can monitor it. And worst comes to worst, we call up the college rep and we talk to them. And as Mrs. Biggins, you know, I'm sorry, which one of you said this about calling? And actually, it was Mrs. Biggins, yes. Giving them some practice talking to an admissions rep on the phone, you know, sort of there to sort of navigate, you know, help them moderate the call. But we do that individually to make sure students are getting the answers that they need if it comes to that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now we will send in Naviance, we'll send out all the documents at the same time to all the schools on that list, on that yellow sheet we receive. We'll send them out by the earliest deadline, just to make sure that they get out there. Now, some students have expressed concern, oh, what if I decide I'm not gonna apply there and they're gonna get my stuff, and it's okay. We send the documents. Eventually, if the student doesn't apply there, the college will end up deactivating that file that they're keeping on hold to gather all the documents. So there's no harm in all the supporting documents going out at the same time. It just lines everything up so that when the application comes through, they already have access to the supporting docs. And again, yes, please give 10 days processing time, so we can do that. Oh yes, here, where's my transcript? Yes, we already sort of jumped ahead on this one. So yes, please tell your student, please not to panic. If something isn't there right away, we will definitely follow up and check on it. Everything will come together. That is so true. And senior grades do matter. Because just today I was talking to a student who is very eager to have a certain GPA for the colleges that he's applying to, wanted to know, well, how much will my GPA go up in either the first quarter or the middle of the year? I can't predict that. However, what I can do is recommend that students send, or request that we send their first quarter grades. If they're having a particularly good quarter and they're getting straight A's and they want the college to see that, and especially for some of the early action and early decision schools in particular, they may specifically ask for first quarter grades. So the senior grades do matter. It's important to stay the course and to make sure that you're still putting your best foot forward and showing the colleges that, you know, you're in it to win it and you're going to be a strong student that they would want on their campus. Now what? Okay. So yes, oh yeah, I did jump ahead a little bit here, but the applications to view their status, this is where I mentioned that your students will receive login credentials for a portal where they can keep track of all of what documents have been received. And if you log into Naviance to view the status, the managed transcript, it will indicate the mail date and that it was sent. And if for some reason your students aren't able to locate that, again, we're there, we can certainly help them with that. The SAT and ACT scores, that is where your student would log into the website to verify when those scores were sent to those colleges, because there's a record of those as well. Okay, oh, and yes, please have your student make sure that the test scores have been received by the college, which again, through their portal, they'd be able to see that. Okay, scholarships and financial aid. We're going to have a separate presentation on financial aid. It's going to be a webinar that we're scheduling. We're picking a date in October, but we'll be sending that information out to you. What we do have are the ways to look for scholarships are school-specific scholarships. So at that university, they have their own share of scholarships that are usually on their financial aid site. They also will automatically consider students for merit money through the application process. So that's already one way in which students will be considered for scholarship money. We also have scholarship websites that we've gone over with your students, but we can always push out more information on that as well. That might be, I'm not sure if it's on the checklist, but we'll make sure you have that as well. Now, local area scholarships, we do start publishing those around January so this coming January for 2026, that's when the local scholarships will be available for applications. And the seniors do have to submit applications for those. And all of those applications and award winners lead up to our senior awards night, which is very end of May. Yeah, last week or so of May. Now, the class of 2025 did rather well. They received thousands of dollars from local donors. And so it is definitely a worthwhile exercise to submit applications for those local scholarships. Completing the FAFSA and or the CSS profile. Now, the FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. That is a government website that it is required for students, for parents and students to create that, to enter that data, so that then colleges can go in, they can extrapolate that data and use it to determine what kind of aid package they're able to give you. I know that this last year, completing the FAFSA was also a New Jersey state requirement for graduation. So I think we're still, we're gonna take a look and see if the state is continuing to do that. But it is important to submit, because even for merit scholarships, I've had colleges say, well, unless someone has filled out the FAFSA, we can't review for merit scholarship money. So again, just it's a lot shorter than it used to be. Apparently it used to be just a brutal thing to experience, but they've pared it down a bit, so that's good news. Now, the CSS profile, I guess I would call that, it's sort of the FAFSA for private schools. It's an additional profile that some private schools want you to fill out. It goes more in depth with, it asks for more granular information about finances. And so that is something that for the smaller private schools might be an additional piece to fill out. But you would be able to see that, your student would be able to see that on the portal. And if there's ever any question about that, we can help you navigate that as well. Certainly make you do the work, don't they? My goodness. This is just to get in. And then it's a yes, so. Oh yes, the financial aid presentation. The gentleman's name is Ed Zamora. He runs Principia Prep, which is an exclusive college financial aid company. And he has great information, and the webinar, as soon as we have that date finalized, we will post that. But the FAFSA itself, when you can actually start working on it, is, well, the government is telling us that it's going to be open on October 1st. What I would recommend doing, though, is maybe waiting until October 4th or 5th, because it seems to happen every year where everybody goes in on October 1st and then the site crashes. So you might want to wait a couple days in case there are some little things to work out there. And most importantly, keep calm. Keep calm. Now that we've given you all this information, but once you go through step by step, and we're there to walk the journey with you every step of the way. That's what we do. We love what we do. We love working with your kids, and we're just here to help you navigate this so that they can go on to their next chapter. And again, we are here to help. And are there any questions, or if you want to speak to us individually afterward, if you have a specific question that you don't want to share with the group, that's fine too. But I thank you all, we all thank you, Mrs. Biggins, Mrs. Struns, Mrs. Olwoli, myself, we all thank, oh, and Mrs. Wysocki in the back. We all thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to supporting your students through the college application season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't wait till 11:15 to submit it the night before, because